Welcome back to FishBites. It's February 5th, 2022. It's been a little bit since I've recorded a video here, and I've been fairly busy and not able to work much on the project here recently, but I have got some work done today, kind of cleaned up some things that had been kind of just hanging around that I wanted to do. So I thought I'd kind of walk through what changes we've made today. If you remember, we've added sound to the application, and you'll hear that in the background. I've got it kind of low so you can still hear what I'm saying, but I'll turn up the sound here in a little bit. But so you see the light blue circle is the sound listener, so any fish within that sound circle, you're going to be able to hear them. If they're swimming fast, they're going to sound their tone more frequently. If they're slow, they're going to do a slower beat. If they're big, they're going to have a lower note. If they're tiny, they're going to have a smaller sound. And one of my biggest changes has been that I've changed to where you select a fish, the sound listening circle will now follow the fish that you select. So let me select this pink guy up here. You'll notice now the sound listener is following the fish there, which is good. So as it swims near fish, you can hear that fish a lot better. And the main fish you can hear is the fish that's selected. Because it's in the center of the sound listener, it's going to be the loudest fish there. Because remember, as you go toward the edge of the sound listening circle, the fish get quieter as they reach the edge. Also, there's panning involved, so the selected fish is going to be panned in the center, with fish to the right or left, pan right or left. So a big challenge I had here with this was that when I first tried this and it would attach the sound listener to the fish, it would skew the sound listener and look more like an egg or an oval or an ellipse than a circle, and as it would rotate, it would keep skewing that in weird ways. And I realized the reason that was happening was because I was putting the sound listener as a child of the main fish game object, but the main fish game object was scaled based on the size of the fish to set its width and its length. So if the fish was longer or shorter, it would change the skewness of the sound listener. So then I decided I would try to fix that by creating a FishGraphics game object underneath the fish game object, which would have all the graphics in that. So that FishGraphics game object is basically doesn't do much, or it doesn't do much. Besides that, it does have the fish size scale is now part of that, the FishGraphics. So the fish object controls the position of the fish and its rotation, but because it has the RigidBody attached to it. But then the FishGraphics, our fish we were looking at just got eaten by that big giant orange fish. He's a big guy. Anyway, so I changed it over to have that FishGraphics object working as the having the scale of the fish, and then the camera object, I don't attach it to the FishGraphics, which has the scale. I attach the camera to the main fish object, which has a scale of 1, 1,1,1. So that allowed me to keep my camera, my sound listener circular, and not getting all skewed and everything. Unfortunately, as often is the case when you're doing development, changing one thing can break other things that already work. So for instance, a bug that came out of that was that the fish were no longer able to eat each other at all, and I'm trying to figure out why was that the case. Well, it turns out that the mouth of the fish, when it made connection with the collider, the collider collapser was the capsule collider for the fish object, for the main fish. Let me show you what that looks like. Open up the fish prefab. So you'll notice that so this kind of light green oval right here is the capsule collider for the fish itself. This collider here in the front is the mouth collider. So anything that hits that, it can try to eat. Anything that hits this collider, if the fish is small enough, this fish will get eaten. Otherwise, the rigid body for this fish uses this collider to decide how it's gonna bang into other fish and bounce off of them, that kind of thing. So the trouble was this capsule collider was on the fish object, but then when I created that FishGraphics object, I had to move this capsule collider to the FishGraphics object so it would scale along with the fish scaling. But what I forgot to do was set the tag on the FishGraphics object to be fish. So I had the tag set to fish for the prefab itself, for the top object. And that worked when I was using that, but now that I'm using the FishGraphics object as the collider for the body of the fish, the tag was untagged, was marked untagged for the FishGraphics. So I had to go in, change this from untagged to fish, and then it was able to eat things, so that was great. Then the problem was that any fish could eat any other fish regardless of size, because it was looking at the FishGraphics. Let me try to grab it here. It was looking at the FishGraphics collider object here, which has a size of 0, because I was updating the collider object script on the fish itself, not on the FishGraphics. So I said, maybe this collider object that I'm using right here is not even that necessary. I'm not even sure if I might use this parent game object to what points back to the top. I do actually use that, don't I? So it knows which fish to destroy when a fish gets eaten. But instead of passing the size from the fish into this object, I'll just have the fish look at the real true size, the rigid body mass on the fish itself, to decide if it's small enough to be eaten or not. So that fixed that problem. So that was good. That I finally got that straightened out. Let me see. I believe that was my last bug that I had to fix there. Let's see. Yep, I think that was it. So I think I'm finally in a pretty good place. I feel like I've got about everything I want done with the let me go back to the full display here. Man, changing this on the fly is a pain. I feel pretty good about the fish sounds now. The sound listener. I might make the sound listener a little bit darker. I also changed the size of all my menus on the side. They look giant kind of here, I guess, when I'm looking at it on full screen on my computer. But on the resolution on my phone, these were still quite tiny and pretty impossible to change things around here. To change the sound selection. I think I mentioned I could hear only the selected fish if I want to. Or I can hear all the fish. So I've increased all the size of those to make that better. And I guess what that leaves me is to talk about kind of what's coming next. What are my next steps, since I feel like I'm mostly done with the sound piece of this. So one thing I need to change, and this is going to be required for these fish to have any kind of intelligence, is to have the fish swim towards a target position rather than just swim in random circles, random arcs. The yellowfish is just swimming in a left arc, and not his angle's just changing the same amount every. He just changed direction now, but now he's going to swim in that same direction for some random amount of time till it changes. So he's not swimming towards anything. So there's no intelligence there. No intelligence possible with that kind of movement. So I need to have the fish where they can actually swim towards a location. At first it'll be just a random location they'll swim towards. And when they reach that location, then they'll swim to a different random location. So I need to work on that. And to do that in a way where the fish turns in a smooth, realistic fashion. So I'm worried that's going to be a little bit challenging. Also, I want to modify the genetics stuff a little bit for the genetics of the fish. Right now, a fish lays an egg, and the egg is a complete clone of the fish that laid the egg. No genetic diversity changing at all. So the only genetic diversity is the initial population of fish has random varieties of fish out there, but there's no other genetic variety happening, and it's just survival of the fittest, with those clones of the original fish fighting it out for survival. So two things I'm going to try to add into this. The first will be a more simple one, where there'll be some small amount of random mutation can happen to a gene when a fish lays the egg. In other words, it won't perfectly all the time pass its entire genetic code to its children. I'm not sure at what rate those mutations will happen. I'll have to kind of play with that parameter. That will allow some more genetic diversity to come into the world here, beyond just the initial genetic pool that starts from our random fish that we start with. The other thing I want to do is have fish be able to fertilize eggs, more than one fish. So what I want to do is have, when a fish swims over another egg, instead of eating the egg, right, it doesn't eat the egg, but I was going to have the fish eat the egg. But instead of that, I'm going to have, when a fish swims over an egg, it's going to fertilize the egg if it's not already fertilized. And what that means is it's going to pass some of its genetic material, is going to be merged with the genetic material already in the egg at some kind of random basis. I might do it a bit like chromosomes and people, sexual reproduction, where one gene comes from the mom and one gene comes from the dad. They're both in the fish. One is expressed and one is not expressed. So deciding which of the genes we'll take from which fish, kind of on a random basis. May allow some mutation in that. Might do some genetic crossover. I'm not sure exactly how I'll do it, but that's forthcoming also. Let's see, and once I've got all that, especially the movement, once I've got the movement, they can move toward a location. Then I can start thinking about also the vision system for the fish. And they can see a plant and move towards it to eat it, or they can see a small fish and move towards it to eat it, or they can see a big fish and see how big it is and try to run away from it. Those kind of things. So that's a big project, but that's really the heart of what I want this thing to do, and then have set up not a genetic algorithm, a neural network set up to where the inputs from the vision system and the genes of the fish will determine how the fish behaves, how it chases things or runs away from things or slows down to eat, that kind of thing. So that's the ultimate goal of this project all along, has been to do that. So those kind of things are finally starting to be in reach after, let's see, how long has it been? November, December, January. So, a little over 2 months working on this. Can finally start thinking about those kind of things now that we have kind of the basic behavior down. So anyway, that's about it for this video. I'm going to change the audio here so you can hear it better, and I'll let the fish kind of play out here a little bit with just full volume as I finish this video. So thanks a lot for listening.